outside for a moment.
Stellar Blade is a pretty fun game. I've put about 50 plus hours into this game, and I'm currently working on my third playthrough so I can unlock the Making New Memories ending. And as I'm making this review, I only need about 4 or 5 more trophies to get the platinum, which is a very rare thing for me to do. The last platinum trophy that I received was for Spider-Man 2. And while I am enjoying this game, I do have some criticisms that I will address throughout this review. But I will say, for making their very first AAA game, Shift Up has done an amazing job with Stellar Blade. And just to start off with this review, I think the game looks pretty amazing. Each environment has a lot of detail in it, and I've noticed that there were a few times where we'd see some texture pop up or low res objects, but for the most part, graphically speaking, this game is pretty impressive and has ran pretty smooth. The story starts off with the 5th Airborne Squad descending onto Earth to reclaim the planet from the aliens known as Naytibas. This is where we meet the protagonist Eve. From this point on, she meets a human scavenger named Adam, who is from the city of Zion, where the last remaining humans are hiding. From here, they meet Lily, who is engineering support for the Airborne Squad, and she also helps upgrade Eve's equipment.
Lily Artemis II.
Eve's overall goal in this game is to eliminate the Elder Naytiba and help Adam receive hypercells to give power to Zion and give the people a better chance at survival. Besides the main missions, Eve can do side quests for the NPCs of Zion and throughout the world. While some random NPC characters aren't as exciting to talk to, there are characters such as Sue and Enya who you will meet that give these side quests more meaning and emotional depth. The side quests in the game aren't really anything to write home about. They involve very basic fetch quests that do offer rewards, especially if you are short on gold or certain resources. One of my complaints with these side quests is that there is a lot of backtracking in this game for the side quests that you do. You will return to certain areas more than once just to find a new dead body or a piece of equipment that was lost and now has spawned because you started the new quest. Thankfully, after completing a side quest, you have the choice to teleport back to Zion or the bulletin board, which offers a lot of convenience to the players, especially since you are backtracking to these previously visited areas. Eve as a character, besides her looks, I think she's a pretty cool character in my opinion. She's very sweet and compassionate towards those who she wants to help, and while we really don't know a ton about her and her interests, I think from what we have gotten so far, she's been a very enjoyable character. I know Eve's looks has been a hot topic, and that Shift Up has been accused of over-sexualizing her and making her body unrealistic, even though her body is based on a actual IRL model. I don't find really anything overly sexual about her besides her outfits, which the players can choose for themselves. Personality-wise, she is a very serious character and doesn't do anything sexual in the game or make any crude jokes or innuendos. Despite what some people will say or claim, there's nothing wrong with liking Eve for her appearance and what she wears. Not every character needs to fit a socially diverse or woke criteria, and mostly people's opinions on her looks are all just that, opinions. People are going to like what they like, and for those that want to make issues out of it and try to belittle others for liking something attractive is absolutely ridiculous, and honestly they don't even deserve the attention. And on the topic of Eve's looks, let's talk about censorship. So far from what I've seen, there's been a few outfits that were changed at launch, and each one of them has had extra fabric covering around her butt or breast area. And before reading into these controversies, I had no ideas that these outfits were changed or quote-unquote censored with the day one patch. I try to avoid any discussions around a new game I'm excited for because I don't want to get any potential story spoilers. For the game's release, Shift Up announced the game would release worldwide uncensored. But however, when the game released, a day one patch came with the game and people noticed that certain outfits were changed slightly. While the game isn't 100% quote-unquote censored, you get plenty of cutscenes with being able to fully see up Eve's skirt or dresses, or even while you're running around in the open world. It's also interesting to note that there are even worse instances in other games like The Last of Us 2 and Baldur's Gate 3, where there are a lot of sex scenes and nudity, but Eve's outfits are showing just a little bit too much side boob, and now all of a sudden it seems to be an issue that needs to be fixed. There's been a lot of blame game going around saying that Shift Up lied to its customers or that Sony is the one behind this censorship issue, but whose fault is it really? We may never know as of right now, and I have no idea if these outfit changes will be put back. And with this censorship controversy, there has been a petition gaining lots of steam right now. And so it might only be a matter of time before Sony decides to cave in and allow Shift Up to change the costumes back to how they originally were. So seeing as how the PC community was able to voice their displeasure with the Helldivers 2 needing a PSN account, there is a chance this petition could actually change their minds, but only time will tell. And as of right now, Shift Up hasn't really said anything regarding whether or not they will reverse these changes to the outfits or not. And there's one thing I want to point out, that it is fine to have your voices heard on this topic, but I've started seeing people comment under the IRL body model for Eve, Shinjae-un, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, making comments at her about why the game was censored, as if she has any say in the matter. And then for my personal opinion on the whole outfit controversy, I didn't really have much of an opinion, but it is hypocritical to allow sex scenes and nudity in other games, but try to cover up some extra booba in specific outfits. But now every time Shift Up posts something about the game and its accolades, you'll see a lot of people posting comments that are basically flinging their own shit at each other over the whole censorship ordeal, and people laughing at these people for making it such a big deal. And I've seen pretty much arguments saying that even if they do change the outfits back, it won't really make a difference to the overall game because the game is still going to be the same regardless of these changes. And then another thing that I've noticed is the lack of blood on Eve compared to how covered she was after the Abaddon boss fight in the demo. I am not sure if this change in blood on the character would be a censorship issue or not. It just seems a really weird thing to change on the day one patch. The combat has been a blast in Stellar Blade. While it isn't anything revolutionary, it is a ton of fun. You have your typical light and heavy attacks. You can do different combos throughout your battles. You also have skills like beta and burst moves. Each one has 4 different abilities that you can utilize. Beta, which is represented by the blue bar, and burst, that is represented by the red bar. One of my favorite moves would be the burst skill with the R1 and circle button named Punishing Edge. It reminds me of Xantasuken from Final Fantasy XVI or Virgil's Judgment Cut from Devil May Cry. This move will definitely help when it comes to fighting multiple enemies at once. And you'll find most enemies and bosses will have yellow dots under their health, which represents their balance. And after perfect parrying their attacks, this will open them up for doing massive damage with a move called Redemption. And once you've met Lily, which isn't very far into the game, Adam's drone can be used as a gun. There are 5 different types of ammo. You've got slug, shotgun, stinger, blaster, cell, and explosive. You start off the game with the slug ammo type, but as you find drone module pieces in the world, you can upgrade the drone's firing capabilities and be able to use the other ammo types. And then besides the gun ammo, you can also use different grenade types that damages enemies' overall health, balance, or just to help stun them for a bit. And there are some sections of the game where Eve's sword isn't usable, and you have to use the gun as the only option for combat. These sections give a nice change of pace to the overall combat and give off a horror vibe with how the enemies will pop up out of nowhere and jump scare you. Holy shit. I was not expecting that. Holy shit. Stellar Blade offers several different areas / levels to explore, from an abandoned city to an underground metro station into a giant open desert. There's plenty to see and do in these areas, from completing quests, fighting random bosses, or collecting cans. I've put a ton of hours into exploring each location and upgrading Eve as I dive deeper into the main campaign. And with these areas we explore comes the platforming, and while it's nothing too crazy, I found it to be a bit janky at times. It seems you have to have Eve lined up perfectly with the ladders or ropes you find, or else she'll just jump past it entirely. While the bosses are really fun, each one provides their own unique challenge. One thing I've noticed is that after certain points in these battles, there will be a slight pause / delay before the next phase takes place. So if you get the boss's health down to a certain level and clear the yellow dots, which is their balance, you can do a redemption move that deals a ton of damage. However, if you get their health to a certain point and then do this redemption move, it will cause minimal or even no damage to their overall health. Besides the redemptions, if you try using ammo or the beta / burst moves, this will cause little to no effect on their overall health during these transitions. This doesn't happen all the time, but it's something that is noticeable to me. It's better to take your time with these battles and get a feel for their attacks That way you're not wasting specific moves on these bosses while doing no damage to them. Another thing I've noticed too is that when you go to switch ammo for the gun, it takes a second to register. I'm not sure if this is intentional or not, but it was something that annoyed me from time to time when trying to switch between my different ammo types. Overall, Stellar Blade was a pretty fun game. If I were to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10. As far as everything goes with like the controversies and some of the things that I found that I didn't really like, I think overall this game's been pretty enjoyable, and I hope that they do come out with extra DLCs for this game. I don't know if they're going to do story expansions, but at this point I know that they are most likely going to do a sequel to this game, so I'm very excited for that. But other than that, this was my review for Stellar Blade. My name's Archangel VX. Thank you so much for joining me, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.